Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Aksa Saeed and all of you know that we have started the English lectureship interview preparation. So today our question is question number 81. First one is, what is meant by ecclesiastical order? Ecclesiastical order is what? Ecclesiastical order basically refers to the hierarchy and structure of religious authority and leadership within a Christian domination or church. ये क्रिश्चियन डोमिनेशन या उसकी उस चर्च से रिलेटेड लीडरशिप, उसकी रिलीजियस अथॉरिटी के जो स्ट्रक्चर होता है, जो उसकी हिरारकी होती है, जो उसकी तरतीब होती है, उसे हम कहते हैं। इसमें जो है ये इंक्लूड करता है डिफरेंट लेवल्स ऑफ क्लर्जी को, सच एज लाइक बिशप्स हो गए, जैसा कि हमने कुछ पोएम्स के अंदर भी पढ़े होते हैं। तो कुछ मॉन्क्स होते हैं, लाइक फ्रायर होते हैं, प्रीस्ट होते हैं, डिकन्स होते हैं। द रोल्स एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज एसोसिएटेड विद ईच लेवल, द प्रोसेस ऑफ ऑर्डिनेशन एंड अपॉइंटमेंट टू दीज पोजीशंस, द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन डिफरेंट लेवल्स ऑफ क्लर्जी एंड लेटी कॉन्ग्रीगेशन। लाइक हमने द बारचेस्टर टॉर्स जो है एंथनी ट्रोलोप का, उसमें बिशप की अपॉइंटमेंट होनी होती है। तो उसमें भी ये एक एग्जांपल है कि किस तरह से हिरार्किकली प्रेजेंट किया जाता है चीज़ों को। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज़, व्हाट इज़ ट्रेजाई कमेडी? ट्रेजाई कमेडी इज़ बेसिकली अ मिलिट्री जॉनरा दैट कंबाइंस एलिमेंट्स ऑफ बोथ ट्रेजेडी एंड कमेडी। ट्रेजेडी आपको पता है कि डिज़ास्टर से रिलेटेड होती है, और सीरियस, जबकि कॉमेडी जो है वो फार्सिकल एटीट्यूड कंसिडर करती है। इट प्रेजेंट्स अ सीरियस ऑफन सैड और अनफॉर्चुनेट सिचुएशन बट विद अ humorous or ironic tone, ending often with a hopeful or redeeming conclusion. In short, it's a mix of tragedy and comedy, blending the two to create a unique narrative that explores the complexities of human experience. For example, Waiting for Godot में भी ट्रेजिकल एलिमेंट्स भी हैं और फार्सिकल भी हैं। सो दैट इज़ एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ ट्रेजाई कमेडी। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज़, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स वाज समनर एंड पार्टनर? समनर एंड पार्टनर जो हैं ये दो टाइप्स के कैरेक्टर्स थे, जो कि चौसर की प्रोलॉग टू द कैंटरबरी डेज में इन्हें प्रेजेंट किया गया था। और ये जो दोनों कैरेक्टर्स थे, बोथ आर द पार्ट ऑफ द क्लर्जी बट देयर कैरेक्टर्स आर करप्ट एंड सैटिराइज्ड बाय चौसर ने इनके कैरेक्टर्स को करप्ट और सैटिराइज किया। द समनर इज़ अ चर्च ऑफिशियल रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर समनिंग पीपल टू ecclesiastical courts, and he is portrayed as a corrupt and greedy individual who accepts bribes and is fond of drinking and women. The next partner is a seller of indulgences, which are forgiveness for sins. He is depicted as a hypocrite who preaches against greed while being excessively greedy himself. वो जो कि खुद बहुत ज़्यादा greedy है और वो दूसरों को प्रीच करता है किस greed के ख़िलाफ़ ही. He is also described as a fraud selling fake relics and pardons. The next is, both characters are examples of corruption and hypocrisy within the church. The Chaucer uses them to critique the religious establishment of his time. आप में से जो लोग चैनल पर न्यू हैं, जिन्होंने अभी तक इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया, काइंडली चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, साथ ही बेल आइकन को भी प्रेस कर लें ताकि हर नई आने वाली वीडियो आप तक पहुंच सके। आपको इस चैनल पर पीपीएससी और एफपीएससी इंग्लिश लेक्चर की कंप्लीट प्लेलिस्ट भी मिल जाएगी। So the next question is, who is called the son and singer of revolution? As all of you know that if you had read the romantic era, so we can see that Percy Bysshe Shelley, a major English poet, is often referred to as the son and singer of the revolution due to his poetic expressions of revolutionary and liberal ideas. His life and works exemplify the themes of English romanticism. इसे Swinburne ने बोला था that Shelley is a son and singer of the revolution, and his life and works exemplify the themes of English romanticism, including restlessness, rebellion against authority, and the pursuit of ideal love and freedom. Next question is, which misconception Marlowe had while going to Congo? हार्ट ऑफ डार्कनेस, जो कि जोसेफ कॉनरैड ने लिखा है एक नावल, उसके अंदर जो मार्लो है प्रोटोगोनिस्ट, वो कॉन्गो जाते हुए उसके माइंड में क्या ऐसी मिसकंसेप्शन होती है। सो मार्लो द प्रोटोगोनिस्ट ऑफ जोसेफ कॉनरैड्स नावल हार्ट ऑफ डार्कनेस हैड सेवरल मिसकंसेप्शंस व्हेन ही ट्रैवल्ड टू द कॉन्गो, इंक्लूडिंग seeing Africa as the dark and savage, other reinforcing colonialist stereotypes. And he viewed himself as a civilized and superior being while the Africans were primitive and inferior, and believing that colonialism was a benevolent and civilizing force rather than an exploitative and oppressive system, assuming that the savage Africans were in need of European guidance and enlightenment, because he thought that he will go there and civilize their people. So underestimating the harsh realities of colonialism and the brutality of King Leopold's regime in the Congo Free State. The next question is, what is difference between aside and soliloquy? In drama and literature, both aside and soliloquy are devices used to reveal a character's thoughts, but they differ in their delivery and purpose. Aside basically क्या होता है? Aside एक brief comment या फिर remark होता है जो कि एक character spoke करता है, बोलता है to themselves or to the audience. Often in a whisper or aside means सरगोशी में या इस तरह से, usually brief and concise, providing insight into the character's thoughts or feelings, may be spoken while other characters are present on stage but they are not aware of the aside. Okay, and soliloquy is what? Soliloquy is basically a longer, more elaborate speech delivered by a character, usually alone on stage when there is no one. Allows the characters to express their thoughts, feelings and emotions in detail. It provides deeper insight into the character's mind and motivations. The next question is, why is Renaissance called revival of learning? Renaissance is called the revival of learning because it marked a renewed interest in classical Greek and Roman knowledge, values and cultures. After a period of decline during the Middle Ages, this revival sparked a Renaissance means rebirth. Okay, and this revival sparked a cultural and intellectual awakening in Europe, fostering advancements in art, science, literature and philosophy, and shaping the modern Western world. In short, it was a rebirth of classical learning and culture. Which is the first English epic poem? As all of you know that the first English epic poem is Beowulf, which is the oldest surviving epic poem in the English language and the earliest piece of vernacular European literature. Here are some key points about Beowulf. Beowulf basically it has 3182 lines composed between 700 and 750, although the only certain date is that of the manuscript which was produced by between 975 and 1025 AD. An anonymous Anglo-Saxon poet wrote the poem. It means he is unknown. Set in Scandinavia during the 6th century, the story is about the hero Beowulf who comes to the aid of King Hrothgar, whose mead hall is under attack by the monster Grendel. The next question is, who wrote the History of Tom Jones a Foundling? History of Tom Jones a Foundling जो है हेनरी फील्डिंग ने लिखा था, जो कि फादर ऑफ इंग्लिश नावल भी थे. हेनरी फील्डिंग wrote the novel The History of Tom Jones a Foundling, which was first published in 1749 in London. This book is among the earliest English works to be classified as a novel and is considered one of the greatest English novels, influencing the development of the novel as a literary form. The next question is, what is a morpheme? Morpheme basically, as we earlier discussed in the video, that now it's a repeated question. A morpheme is the smallest unit of a language that carries meaning. It is a fundamental concept in linguistics and can be a like word, for example run, prefix for example an, suffix for example ed, that's a morpheme. Inflectional ending for example as, for plural root for example happy in happiness. So morphemes are the building blocks of language and they help form words, phrases and sentences that convey meaning. They can be classified into two types: bound morphemes and free morphemes. Free morphemes are those morphemes that can stand alone, words with meaning, and for example dog, but bound morphemes must be combined with other morphemes to have meaning. For example, prefixes are suffixes. The next question is, how many morphemes or morphs are there in sheep and fish, plural? There's a good question. In the words sheep and fish plural, we have sheep plural, one morpheme, the root sheep, one morph, the form sheep remains the same, fish plural. One morpheme, the root fish, one morpheme, the morph, the form fish remains the same. Okay, note that sheep and fish are irregular plurals. It means we can't add suffix like s or es to make them plural, but instead the form remains the same, making them a single morph and morpheme. And the next question is, what is ectolect? The highest and most formal and prestigious variety of a language or dialect used by the most powerful groups in society. For example, standard English, formal speech and academic writing, in contrast to basilect, which is the lowest, most informal variety. The next is, what is mesolect? Mesolect is what? That is a mid-range variety of a language or dialect. It combining elements from both the acrolect and basilect, means high formal and low informal varieties. It is the intermediate everyday language used by most people in informal settings. For example, conversational language, everyday speech and regional dialects that are neither too formal nor too informal. The next question is, what is basilect? Basilect is basically the lowest, most informal variety of a language or dialect, often used in casual, colloquial, or vernacular speech. It's the most relaxed, spontaneous, and regional form of language, often differing significantly from the standard or formal variety. For example, regional slang, colloquialisms, and non-standard dialects. The question number 95 is the last question of this video. Name two aphasias affecting human speech. The two aphasias affecting human speech are Broca's aphasia and Wernicke's aphasia. Broca aphasia causes difficulty in speaking in grammatically correct sentences with effortful and halting speech, while Wernicke's aphasia is causing difficulty understanding language and speaking in complete but often nonsensical sentences. Both are named after the areas of the brain affected, Broca's area and Wernicke's area. So I hope it's clear to all of you. काइंडली चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा, वीडियो को लाइक कीजिएगा और सबसे शेयर कीजिएगा। आज की वीडियो में हमने 15 क्वेश्चन जो है डिस्कस किए हैं। नेक्स्ट वीडियो में हम इंशाल्लाह मज़ीद डिस्कस करेंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच। अल्लाह हाफिज़।